Have you ever wanted to hide? You want to help, but you have to take care of your family first. Maybe this next paycheck I can support causes I love. Tell me, how does this sound? You shop, click a picture of a receipt, and pick someone you support while shopping for your family. Well, check out communitypayitforward.us. Hover your mouse here. Click on the Verified Given Partner button and shop with any partner that will satisfy your needs. Grab the receipt because every time you shop, a Community Pay It Forward mission partner receives anywhere from 80 to 90% of a referral. You can find the mission partners by going right here. Each mission has a QR code so you can upload your receipt. And that's it. Shop, click, and pick. Join the program. You shop with small businesses and support great people. Great people who need a little help, or help to support the great people doing great things. Because with Community Pay It Forward, you don't have to hide anymore. Community Pay It Forward knows every small business is essential.
Into a real fight wasn't right. Where can she dream here?
Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Zach Clayton, Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and I know this because it says it right here on my shirt. Look at that. It's because I tried to put on Adrian's shirt earlier, and that didn't work well at all. I mean, my wife is much, much thinner than I am, and it was, hey, Stephanie. Oh, you guys are going to love to meet her next month, so this is great. I'm glad that she's in here. Stephanie Berman, I met her today, and she's got a wonderful, wonderful organization that you guys are going to be learning about next week, and this one really touches home with me because I know women who suffer with some of the problems that she's going to be talking about. So next month it's going to be very special. Stephanie is going to be joining the community mission partners as well, so you're going to be able to support her, and we're going to get her on a little bit before that. But wonderful, wonderful person. We had a great time talking today, so I'm excited about that. But Stephanie Berman, you're going to be meeting Stephanie Samos. I know that you two have a meeting coming up, and you get to meet the goddess of the grape. You guys will have a lot of fun, and you guys will get to know each other very well. So, hey, welcome to pACT, Podcasting for All Coming Together. Tonight is the first show of the month, and should I just kind of tear away all of the things that, you know, I made the mistake on the first one, and then on the second one we had a last minute cancellation, and all of a sudden Stephanie goes, I want to support Dwayne. I want to support Dwayne. And I was like going, great. Kind of sitting there, it's like dialing 911 and wait to see if I do something stupid, you know. But Dwayne's here with us. Seems like a great guy. I haven't had a long time to talk to him, but I've had a good time talking to him. Tonight, starting at 9 o'clock Eastern, we are replaying this week's. Sorry about the dogs in the background. They just love playing for you guys. But starting at 9 p.m. Eastern, we are replaying this week's Footprints Forward. It is a show where we have the parents of Aaron, who is one of our teammates, our family members, talking about the loss of their daughter. And it was the first time that they ever came on to a podcast and they talked about this. So a 1 hour show that actually turned into a 2 hour show. And it was hard to turn it down at 2 hours because there was just so much information, so much feeling, and so much good that was coming out of that. Look, my suggestion is, parents, if you've got a child who is suffering, tune in at least for a little bit and watch this, okay? They give you what they went through. They give you an idea on what they wish they would have done. They give you a lot of suggestions, and maybe it'll help you find that path. And if you need someone to talk to your child, please reach out to us at footprints@communitypayitforward.us, and we'll try to find someone that you can talk to. Footprints at community or payitforward.us. Looky there. But anyway, we are here today, and first Wednesday of the month, so that means the goddess of the great, Miss Stephanie Simoes. How you doing, sweetie?
I am happy to be here. Wow, you touched on a lot. I can't wait to hear from Stephanie next month. We are chatting soon. I'm excited about that. Footprints Forward was so impactful this week. So anybody who missed that, definitely tune in. And that was Dwayne, if you weren't sure, that said I'm here.
Oh, okay.
So I'm really excited. Dwayne, thank you so much. I know he's in the background right now, but thank you for stepping up and jumping in. And, you know, this one is important to me because they're a local organization that helps our community here. And they do have a really wide reach. So it's not just my community here. It's a pretty wide reach of where they serve. So I'm excited. We don't often do anything local to here, but I think that he'll be able to share some really great advice that'll help people all over, not just here in Pennsylvania. So thanks for having us tonight, Zach, and collaborating on this.
I'm actually really excited about this one because of the climate of today, and climate is the heavy word there. But with everything going on in Hawaii and California and Florida, you know, God forbid I don't mention what happened at Burning Man, because, you know, that's apparently the story of the year.
We've got co-hosts back there. That's all right. They've got feedback too.
Yeah. So they just wanted to say hi, but you know, all the things going on, and I think that Dwayne's going to be able to really help us learn more about what they do. So Stephanie, why don't you go on ahead and do your thing, and then we'll bring Dwayne on.
Yeah, no, perfect. So if you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Stephanie Simoes. I'm so happy you're watching. Zach and I have been doing this show for quite some time now, and we're really passionate about highlighting smaller nonprofit organizations and help them, you know, reach a broader range of people and get more support. I am a cause entrepreneur with One Hope Wine. So what I do is I help people fundraise, you know, for their causes that are most important. I love that. Thanks, Zach. So what is One Hope? We are a cause-centered winery out of Napa Valley. We've donated over $9.7 million to date, locally and globally, to over 42,000 different nonprofit organizations. So our main pillars of giving are clean water, hunger, health, and education through the One Hope Foundation. But in addition, as a customer, you're able to select a cause of your choice. So essentially, every single bottle is given back twice. And I love that you have that platform to choose who you want to give back to. The wine is great. The give back is even better. That's what I do. We'll talk wine a little bit later. But I'm just glad to be here collaborating with Community Pay It Forward, because as you learned last month, Zach is doing the exact same thing and supporting people through Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care. So without further ado, I think we should just bring Dwayne on and learn more about East Penn. What do you think?
Yep, let's go for it. So,
hey guys,
how are you doing, Dwayne?
Doing great. A little bit of a lag in the chat, as you could see.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, I was like, huh, who's that? Well, I must know him from somewhere, so you know. But,
the chat
hey,
loaded
you know,
like in the middle of it all, and I see Stephanie going. I see my name in there, and I'm like, no, I'm here.
So,
hopefully that's all fixed, and as long as the video works, I'm good.
well,
How we doing today, guys?
So, Dwayne, tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing.
Well, it is East Penn Search and Rescue. The organization has a very rich history. In fact, I belong to it going back all the way to the 90s before I broke off, did my own thing, and then got re-involved. Much smaller scale. They do locating missing persons in the woods. They do water rescue. They do some ice rescue, structural collapse capability, although there's not much of a need of it these days. So this summer's been pretty hit on water rescue stuff, you know, especially with the drownings that happened this year around the country. Just there's a need for education, a need for people to understand that minutes matter.
You know, you and I were talking about that because of a case that I'd experienced before. Water is something that if you see somebody who's struggling with water, you don't have time to really even think. You need to find a way to get them out of there, correct?
You do. It's not about discussion. It's about keeping you safe and finding a way to save that person's life. Many people fail to realize that moving water is probably the most powerful force on earth that we deal with day to day. Essentially, you can drown in less than a half an inch of water in your bathtub. And I just hope people realize it so that the lives lost due to water can substantially drop through education.
You know, Dwayne, that's one of the things that we've heard quite often, that you can drown in that small amount of water, you know, like in your tub. That's really hard to believe, but what are some examples of people who have drowned?
Somebody slips, falls face first, gets unconscious. They inhale that water into their lungs and drown. That's just one of the many ways that it can happen. Or, God forbid, a baby slides underwater. No, knock on wood with anything. Parent's not there, a toddler, you know, they'll be all right for a couple minutes, but that water dripping, that toddler slips, done. We take everything for granted, but these things can actually take us off the earth in a matter of seconds.
Yeah. You guys were in an area that the beginning of the summer was a difficult time for the northeast part of the United States because of what was going on in Canada. What were some of the things that you were trying to tell people about smoke inhalation? I know that it's really dangerous. Being in Colorado, that's one of the things that we deal with all the time.
You know, it's funny, Zach. I wish we would have talked about this before the show. Stephanie, I don't know if you saw them. I actually sent my drone up there and took some before and after pictures as that smoke came through.
Really?
Yeah. I could send them to you if you'd like later on. I have no problem with that. Really, you really don't know what kind of particles those are picking up and what you're really breathing in when it comes. I mean, okay, a wildfire. People assume, now I'm not a firefighter by any means, but common sense says, okay, it's a wildfire, it's trees, it's leaves. How bad could it be? But what about all the other particles they pick up traveling? You know, and I get it, the whole, like we discussed earlier, the whole, for lack of better words, the whole stage of the way the world is today. People just need to heed those warnings. Thankfully, nobody died from that smoke inhalation that I'm aware of, but it doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Yeah. I did hear a doctor that was on the street in New York City that was talking about how right now breathing in 30 minutes of that smoke would be like inhaling 3 packs of cigarettes because it was just so thick. And that smoke, look, inhaling any kind of smoke in your lungs, that's not what your lungs are meant for. So, it can do a lot of damage to your lungs.
I'll have to take your word for it. I'm not a doctor, man. Just like I'm not a firefighter.
I smoked for a long time, but yeah. So, and my lungs pay for it. I walk up 3 stairs and I feel like I've walked up 30. So, and I quit smoking 16 years ago. What are some like give me some of the stories where you wish people would take more precaution that you've been involved with that are unnecessary? And we see this with what's bringing this up. It's this hurricane that's down in the Florida area. They were telling people, look, this hurricane is different. And there were people who were on TV right there saying, they say that every time. This hurricane's different. This one's different. This one. And 2 days later, you see them being rescued.
Well,
what are some of the things that,
I can't go into all the details.
Right.
But what was that? I think it was 2 weeks ago. We had a 26-year-old male go kayaking in a local lake that's no more than 6 foot deep. His kayak capsized. Young man drowned, was not wearing a life jacket. At the end of the day, because he didn't wear his life jacket, 40 people, including myself, divers, boat captains, all that had to put our lives at jeopardy because of one mistake that could have prevented it all and saved his life. If you don't want to leave, have life preservers. Always have a life jacket. Don't assume that because it's only 3 inches of water that it's not going to be bad, because you don't know what Mother Nature is going to push along with it. And that's the big thing. It's not about the house. It's not about the clothes. It's not about, I don't know, it looks like you have a record hanging behind you there, Zach. I can't really see it from here by the fish tank. But it's not about that. It's all about saving lives. And every time somebody's life is in jeopardy, whether you're search and rescue, whether you're a firefighter, whether you're police, they put their lives on the line to help you. So sometimes making poor choices puts others at risk as well.
Yeah. That's a Harley Davidson logo back there. So,
Cool.
you can't take the biker out of an idiot sometimes. So, and that's, I needed to rescue myself when I was run off the road 9 years ago now. So, but I didn't fall very far, but I fell pretty damn hard. So,
thankfully you were okay. No.
Yeah. What is the first thing that you guys have to prepare for any time that you go into a situation?
It's going to be, are we prepared? How can we do it safely? And more importantly, how can we do it professionally? Because this day and age, everybody has scanners. Everybody wants to go and see what's going on. So it's how do we keep the public from trying to get involved? For example, somebody could have jumped in that lake and said, oh, I'm going to go save them. What if that person's not a great swimmer? Or what if that person, gets injured? So it's all about the public safety, the communication, What resources do we need? How do we get the resources here safely? What's our closest resources? What could we do instantly? What could we have done differently than we did last time? You know, it's like a massive jigsaw puzzle that just never stops getting put together.
Is it machismo that's getting people to do stuff like that? Is it getting, is it almost like I don't know. I don't want to blame media for, I hate blaming media for things, but media covering the hero guy, is that one of the reasons why people are really trying to, you know, they're going to go and they're going to jump out there and they're going to try to be on the 5 o'clock news?
Listen, that's all good and well if you're properly trained.
Yeah.
If you know what you're doing, if you're a first responder, you have a, listen, if somebody falls off of a bridge and you have a rope with a life preserver on it, very easily you could throw that to them without putting your own life in jeopardy. And at the same time, you could be the hero for having something that you should have had going near the water to begin with, a life preserver. And
you guys,
you know,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, if I could add to that, you know, I don't want to keep hitting home about the life preservers, but we've had this year 14 drownings in northeastern PA. And it's just sad. They all, at one point, I mean, there's one or two that might not have been able to be prevented. I don't know the specifics on it, but for the most part, every water accident can be avoided at some point.
Dwayne, what does it do to your team when you guys go out there? You guys are fighting hard to save someone's life, and you're unable to do that. What does it do as a team? Does it bring you guys together? Do you guys use it as educational? Is it? I know it's got to be tough.
Is it? Well, that's kind of a loaded question. I'd like to answer that question with a question, if I may. Are you talking when I have to leave my family behind to go and do it, or when I can't go because my family or my job needs me? Or do you want me to address it from both ends?
Yeah, go for it. Address it from any end.
I can tell you this. Every time I leave my house, my wife is worried. So, you know, granted, I'm limited on that stuff lately because, you know, times change, you know. I'm not 22 years old anymore. But, you know, there's that worry. You know, don't hurt yourself. You know, don't overdo yourself. But then when you're sitting here and going, I really want to go, but I'm so damn tired. I just, you know, it really sucks because I have to make that decision. Like, I can't go because I'm just not physically capable of it. So it's more of a mental thing, and I can't speak for the rest of the team, but I'm sure they all have their personal reasons for why or why not as well.
Stephanie?
Kind of going back to, you know, what you touched upon before. I know that you're always trying to kind of improve your gear too, for your team to be more efficient, expand, you know, the resources that you have so you can be able to serve more situations, serve more quickly, more efficiently.
Absolutely.
You know, are there any things in particular right now that the team is like, you know, we really need these things because of,
well,
you know,
the team just had to buy a brand new boat motor. Which that's a hit. But it's got to be, you know, you need it. Emergencies don't care about what you need. Emergencies care about what you can provide. You know, we're always after that. You know, we have to, you know, we're fully volunteer funded. So we don't get any state funding. We don't get any county assistance. So aside from things like this, there, you know, everybody's out there with a pail and bucket doing old-fashioned fundraising. I know we're always in need of extra backpacks to help people in the woods. I know we're always after life jackets, ropes, wetsuits, dry suits for ice rescue. Always after that gear, because the more gear we have, even communication equipment, team always needs radios. And You know, hopefully it hits a point where I never stop programming them for them because there's so many of them. But what are you going to do?
Right. Right. Well, obviously, monetary donations would help you all the best, but it's great for you to mention kind of supplies and resources that if maybe somebody listening said, "Hey, I want to be able to donate something to them," and
there's always batteries. There's light headlamps, small things, ponchos, a space blanket. A space blanket's so small, about probably the size of my cell phone, that'll keep the heat in and keep the water out for up to 24 hours. That's amazing. Something that you could wrap a patient in and keep them warm on a cold winter day.
Wow. Okay.
So it's all the little things that people don't think about. It's always nice to have extra compasses. Always nice to have, so if somebody shows up from work and says, "Hey, I have my work truck. Here you go. We have an extra set of gear for you right here. Here you go." So it's always ongoing.
What's the process, Dwayne, when they call you in? Is it the police that call you in, or do you guys get notified by other resources?
It's all of the above. Typically, the way it starts is the police are notified. Police will do their thing, and after, I couldn't even tell you what their time windows are. Then you'll hear that call come out for the fire company. Then the fire company will say, "County, let's hit all the search teams," or "I need a drone," or "I need a boat," or "I need dogs," and it'll go from there, and it just kind of snowballs. But out of county, other counties will call us, other fire agencies will call us, other search agencies will call us. So our calls all come from different directions, where I don't know how it is in Colorado, but most people dial 911. There's a house fire. They send it right out. They got localized calling. We're all over the place. We can get a call tomorrow to go into New Jersey. And
I was going to ask you that, actually. Your service area is quite broad. You could be traveling over an hour to get to a scene. Is that right?
Yep.
Do you want to touch upon the areas that East Penn serves?
Monroe, Carbon, Pike, Wayne, Luzerne, and I don't know any of the New York counties up there, like right up in New York State, stuff like right across the border. I think Milford's up there, Port Jervis, the Hackettstown area. For those, I don't do much traveling into New York State these days, so I couldn't. I don't know what county is next to us in New York after Pike.
That's pretty good. What's it like having the temptation that you got something like, let's say, this dreadful thing going on in Hawaii, and what's difficult about saying, what, we can't deplete our services to give up and go help someone else?
And we have members that have done their due diligence and been on national agencies that have been there and done that. And, I can't really touch for myself personally on a national level, but, the biggest thing that people have to understand when something like Hawaii or Florida with the hurricanes and all that is going on is that things constantly change. They evolve. I know it's cliche, the world turns. Well, as something like Florida happens, the world turns, so does the hurricane, so does the news. It's, when a natural disaster happens, whether it's a fire, flooding, earthquake, no matter what the case is, I'll let you pick and choose. The list goes on.
Tornado right here in our area.
That's not the time to sit there and say the media is feeding us bullshit. That's the time to become a community, pull together. And that's what I honestly believe makes this country resilient.
I couldn't agree with you more. We say it every day. No one has to go it alone when we all come together. And that's the truth. We need to come together, and we need to make sure that, we realize this is we're one people, regardless of who we are. You know, we're one people. Do you guys have a training or that you guys offer, or is there a training? How does someone who's younger who wants to get into this, because like you said, you know, you're 26 now, you're no longer 22. So how does somebody get into, you know, somebody who wants to help people and wants to volunteer? What do they got to go through to do what you do?
They can simply go to our website. I think you posted it, eastpennsar.net. They can reach out to the team right there. They'll get reached out to, and they'll get set up with the training. It goes through NASAR. I think it's nasar.gov, or I don't have it off the top of my head. Sorry, guys. Last minute. So, but if you at nasar.org, I think it is. If you Google it, it's National Association of Search and Rescue. But you can also, through eastpennsar.net, you can get on there and get all your training. We offer some free online classes. We offer, you know, in classroom classes. In fact, our chief, Roger Tobias, is an instructor for NASAR. So we offer direct training, and, you know, unfortunately, the members pay for it out of their pocket. They're anywhere from, I think it's $25 to I think $70, but the classes that are up there are like, I think they're like 60 hours or something like that. So it's really not that bad. But the whole thing is that you need the training to get out there. And, you know, it's great for a father-son, do something together. I've seen that in the past. You know, just a little bit of common sense and a little bit of dedication will go a long way.
You can, and you've already mentioned it, how dangerous it can be for somebody who goes out who's unprepared. Even if somebody doesn't want to join your program, is this a good program for them to take a look at to see, hey, you know, if I'm in a situation where, you know what, my situation that I was telling you about, we were 45 minutes from any rescue vehicles.
Yep.
If I would have been in which, obviously, the situation mine was in, the gentleman was gone. He was already deceased, but, you know, there was still a chance of him breaking loose, you know, and he'd already been missing for 9 days. There's still that chance that he could have broken loose and he could have been gone another 9 days.
Yep.
Your training, that would be good for somebody to take a look at and say, hey, you know what? At least now I have an idea how to keep myself safe, so they're not trying to drain this river for two people.
Right. You know, it's I'm trying to think. I'm going to relate it to a story, a personal experience. And Stephanie, I think you're very well aware of this. So if you remember any of the details, please jump in. 2 years ago, there was a gentleman, 86 years old, by the name of Ronald Nichols. He lived over called the Twin Lakes. I forget the actual name of them. It's along 940. There's two big lakes on each side, and they look very similar. And the search went on, and it went on for almost, I think it was 14, 16 hours. And people started showing up at the park, and they were getting mad that they were turned away. And the whole thing is that when you go into something that's that big, it's basically a crime scene. You're not going to get back there without the training. So as much as I hate to say it, without the training, you're not going to be able to go on a large scale. But in your case, Zach, you know, a little training goes a long way. You know, I hate that. That's the only reference I have right now, man. So I don't mean no disrespect. I mean, you know, take a shot at my bad hair day if you want. I don't.
Would you say it slows the team down, though, if the public tries to get involved and delays you all from the minutes that might count for that particular situation in some cases?
I don't know so much that it slows the team down, but it'll definitely take away from the police department or the agency. I'm sure you have them out there by you, Zach, so add whatever. We have the Department of Forestry or the DCNR here. I'm sure you have your equivalent out there. We have our local police, we have our state police, we have our fire police, so we rely, our public safety here in the community. So they're the ones that get distracted from it by trying to keep it secure and keep people out of there for us. So potentially it wouldn't necessarily slow the team down, I'd say, but it would definitely take away from the overall devotion that the situation might require, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
EMTs.
Sorry, Zach.
No, I was just saying the EMTs, emergency medical technicians. And I know that. Look, I know that everybody's curious. I mean, rubbernecking is not a problem because it's, because nobody does it. It's a problem because everyone does it. You see an accident and this happens. But there are times that, if you just keep moving along, there's more chance that we can save a life here. Right. So Stephanie, you were saying?
Yeah, no, you and your team do some things to help kids, right? With some safety measures from a younger age as well, right, Dwayne?
The Hugger Triad program, I think you're referring to.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I'm going to have to get you that info because it was updated and I just don't have the currents. But if you're looking for an overview, I'd be more than happy. Basically, it teaches a kid that if they wander from home and they get lost, there's a code word. So say Mike Jr. goes out for a walk in the woods. He's a little curious, doing some exploring on vacation. Well, he's taught a code word. And that code word becomes a safe word. And they tell him to not wander, but pick a tree and hug it and hold on until help comes. Because the farther you wander, the harder it is. But you'll know if the person is safe because of that safe word. If I'm called because your son is missing, you can say, Tatiana is his cousin's name, his favorite cousin. That's his safe word. Mike Jr., Tatiana, you here? Now he knows the safe word. He's okay to talk to. So not only does it keep him from wandering around, but it also, gives him an extra added security. And that goes back again, Zach, referring to the discussion we had earlier about the state of the world today.
Yeah, that's that's awesome. I've never heard of a program like that, and I really like that. I think it's one of the things that people end up doing is they move around too much and they get themselves further into a situation and get themselves in places they don't need to be. So I love the way that you guys are teaching kids that. That's
and wait, I'm sorry, Zach, go ahead. I got a little lag here for whatever reason.
No, go for it.
And two, with adults, back in the day, you had Alzheimer's, you had them locked in the nursing room.
Yeah.
And they got out. It was like a big ordeal. Everybody had to come in. Now, most days, this day and age, even though senior citizens have cell phones, if you have a loved one in a nursing home, please pay for that Find My Phone. Because there's only so many times legally that a cell phone can be pinged from a police department or a requesting agency. But if you have that Find My Phone, it might be an inconvenience, but it might save your loved one's life.
No, that's I love what you're saying. Hey, Dwayne, the last question that we've got for you, and then Stephanie's going to jump in and do her little part. What are some of the things that a donation to you is going to supply? What are some of the things that you guys make sure that money goes to?
Well, it makes sure that we stay in service by keeping our insurance current, because without that, we'll get decommissioned, I guess you could say, or taken out of service. We can keep our communications going. We can keep our pagers going. We can keep our water rescue team just got typed by, I think it was the Coast Guard, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not on the water rescue team, so I'm not 100% sure. It keeps going for training because that needs ropes, so much gear, backup flashlights, backup safety gears in case a rope rescue comes up. So it's always ongoing. That can, even $5 can buy a case of water for the whole team to keep in their trailer. So every little bit helps, especially the way things are this day in the climate.
Well, I greatly appreciate that. Dwayne, what would be the last thing that you would tell somebody? What would be the first thing you would tell somebody when they were preparing to go out into the wild?
Two things. Take a compass and go to the store, even Walmart, and buy a roll of flagging tape. It's like a ribbon, a big roll of ribbon, but it doesn't disintegrate as easy. Tie it around the tree. If you want to find a path in, go ahead, but make sure you have something. I know the old cliche, leave some crumbs behind. That's old school, very old school search and rescue, actually. But, buy some flagging tape in the hunting section, every 10, 15 feet, make sure it's bright, you can see it, know where it is, so that if you do slip, you do fall, or something does happen, we have a path to follow. We stand a better chance at helping you. You stand a better chance at helping yourself. And make sure you have a compass, because even if you fall and break a leg, you can give people a very good general idea of where you are just by having the basics of a compass and what color ribbon you put out there.
No, it's beautiful. What you're doing is such a wonderful thing, and I want to thank you for joining us. Stephanie, do you have anything else?
No. Thank you for being here and sharing all of that. I think that there's a lot of useful, information that somebody listening can definitely latch onto, and it could potentially help somebody. So thank you for sharing all of that. I wouldn't have thought of that. And we've spoken many a times about East Penn, and tonight I heard some things that I haven't heard.
Steph, if I can, I got some advice for you with the homestead.
Let's hear
it. Buy battery packs for your cell phones. Okay. Amazon, $24. It does all types of USB ports, and it'll charge your cell phone up to 20 times.
We'll have to get back to another conversation.
Even in the woods, if you're going out, have one. Make sure your cell phone is charged, because you never know if you're going to fall, and that 911 center might have to call you back, and you have no battery.
Right. Yeah, I'll need some advice on a good set of walkie-talkies too, because we've been using those with the kids out there.
They're outdated. I got something better. It's all done via cell phone now.
All right. We'll talk. Thank you, Dwayne, so much.
I'm
excited.
Feel free to stick around. And
I was just going to say, I think I'm going to just sit back and just enjoy the rest of it. I didn't check the chat. Was there anything in
sounds
chat?
Great. Please do.
Nope, nothing in chat.
Right. No, nothing in the chat right now. But Stephanie, you're up.
Yeah. So hopefully you are tuning in from our Community Pay It Forward One Hope fundraising page on Facebook. But if you're not, definitely join us there. My link tree is actually right underneath my name. Usually it is one of the first links right on top there. If you go to my link tree, and you could join the group and be a part of every single month when we highlight a really great nonprofit. But what you see on the screen right now is East Penn Search and Rescue's fundraiser for this month. Really excited to have Dwayne. We'll have him back mid-month. So definitely tune into that. But you can take your cell phone out, open your camera, hold it up to that QR code. It'll take you right to the fundraising link where every single purchase will support East Penn Search and Rescue on their mission to save more lives and help more people, in these emergency situations. So definitely check that out. If you need any recommendations, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And you can do that right through our group on Facebook if you have any questions. But Let's dive in. I thought the purchase with purchase promotion for September was really exciting. So that's what I thought would be fun to highlight. And I know we haven't dove into too much wine per se lately. We've been doing more, fun kind of pairings and some different things. So I thought it would be fun to highlight the purchase with purchase promotion. And there's no better way to wrap up summer and head into fall than with crisp and refreshing wines. So we have you covered with the fall purchase with purchase trio. You are going to be able to unlock 35% off with the fall trio when you purchase 6 or more bottles. You will see the savings offer pop up right on your screen when supporting through that fundraising link that's going to support East Penn Search and Rescue. So I'm going to go dive right in and just tell you a little bit about the wines that are in this trio that you're getting. The first one being the Reserve Prosecco, which is from Italy. I know you've got a beautiful shot of that. Thank you, Zach.
Yeah.
Awesome. So
and
Stephanie,
I would just like to bring up one more thing. It's not only 35% off, but that's also 2 donations in there. One to Dwayne and Penn Rescue, but also to One Hope Wine Foundation.
Correct. Yeah, that is right. And actually, I mean, there's even additional. So you're building a box of 6 or more. So you're getting at least 10% off of that, plus another 35 with this trio. So the discounts definitely stack. Of course, you know that Wine Club has the best benefits.
Yep.
And every single purchase gives back to the cause of your choice. So, as a Wine Club member, you can continue to support East Penn Search and Rescue way beyond this event and this fundraiser and all of that. Just select them within your account. And, every time you purchase a gift or refill your wine rack, the donation goes to them, which is that's what I love about this is you get to choose. But what you see on the screen is the Italian Reserve Prosecco, which is made from Galera grapes, and it's balanced and fruity with a touch of sweetness that adds to the volume and accentuates the fruit. A dry finish with plentiful bubbles makes this a delightful choice. So in this one, you'll see notes of pear, green apple, and fresh bubbles. Pairings would be fruit and cheese plate, seafood chowder, lemon cake. I am personally known to throw a splash of my favorite juice into a bubbly, just like this one, to mix it up a bit. And that makes it, you can mix it up easily that way. So that's the bubbly. Definitely crisp and refreshing for this time of year.
Well, let me ask you real quick about this. What is the difference between that Prosecco and this wonderful bottle of Her Story that we have here?
Oh, goodness. The taste is different. I don't know how else to say.
Is it just really the taste, or is it made differently? Do you know?
So the grapes come from a region in Italy for the Prosecco. So the grapes are different. The Her Story is California. So that, it's going to be, they're going to be a little bit different. And they say where the grapes are grown and the regions have a lot to do with the taste of the wines too, from the dirt and the soil to the sun exposure, the climate, how close it is to the ocean or inland. Like there are so many factors. And now I am not by any means a sommelier or any kind of wine expert. I'm just a mom that likes to drink wine and help fundraise. But I do know that, California is known for their grape growing regions in certain areas. Same thing with different areas in Europe. And you're going to find that maybe the same type of grape is going to be different coming from different places and taste a little bit differently. So our winemaker's job is to find the best grape growing regions and what fits, the collections that they're trying to make here at One Hope, because we are a private wine label. So our winemakers do make our wines and they do source the grapes from different areas. So we do have grapes that are grown on our property in Napa, but our winemakers do source grapes from other areas in California, other regions, sometimes very specific regions, like for example, off the top of my head, the Paso Robles Cabernet, which is delicious. It's one of my favorites, and it's one of the top sellers. If you really love a good, bold Cabernet, that comes from Paso Robles. So I hope that makes sense. But that
Yeah,
is
absolutely. And this this next picture, I commented to you earlier. This wine it looks delicious.
That is our Sonoma Coast Reserve Rosé. It is delicious. This I like to describe this one as just crisp and refreshing. I personally enjoy this one with a wide variety of foods. Also, I don't know if you're supposed to, pair it with as wide a variety as I do, but I think that this rosé really pairs with a lot of things too. And I'm sorry you haven't tasted it yet. So we're definitely going to have to make sure that we get one of those in your next box, Zach, because not only is it beautiful and you can drool over that picture with the cherries right there.
I was going to say, I want the bowl of cherries too, though.
But it is a really delicious wine also. So this Reserve Rosé, and this kind of goes back to what I just said, is from the Sonoma Coast AVA in Sonoma, California. So that's where the grapes were cultivated to make this wine. So this beautifully colored wine is made from Merlot grapes and is an elevated, medium-bodied rosé. What you'll find here is notes of sour cherry, pomegranate, and minerals. See, even the minerals kind of sometimes go into that tasting profile in the wine. Pairs perfectly with a strawberry salad, melon and prosciutto, hummus, and seared scallops. So, really, really delicious wine. It's a beautiful bottle. It's a beautiful gift if someone really enjoys rosé. It is not sweet. I like to say it's crisp and refreshing. I do get that question about rosé sometimes. Is it super sweet? No. It's more of like that sour cherry, but you do taste, at least I do, taste the cherry and the pomegranate in it.
Well, I just know it is a beautiful picture, and it really looks good in that picture. And then we got one more bottle, right?
One more, and this is one of your favorites, Zach. Our Vintner Collection Moscato. So hello to all the sweet wine lovers. This one is for you. Our Vintner Collection Moscato, perfumes of orange blossom and citrus zest, bringing bright and sweet flavors of candied lemon and nectarine to this beautiful wine. This one has notes of nectarine, orange blossom, candied lemon, and citrus zest. It pairs well with dried apricots, Marcona almonds, aged Gouda cheese, honeycomb, and sugar snap pea salad. So if you're in the mood for something sweet, this wine is a delicious choice. It's just like dessert. So if you're a sweet wine lover, this is your selection right here. But definitely be sure to, when you're on there supporting East Penn Search and Rescue and you're checking everything out, definitely check out the new enhancements to our wine club, which include $500 worth of additional benefits like complimentary wines and a tasting experience at our winery in Napa. So definitely check that out. We'll touch upon that a little bit more at a later time, but our wine club just got even sweeter.
Well, this is great. Once again, the special is you get 35% off of the fall trio. And again, you get to donate to 2 different causes, which is fantastic. 9.7 million.
We're at 9.7 million. I'm waiting to hear from home office when we hit that $10 million mark. But it's a nice feeling, even the last few years, to really see the impact just that my team and I have been able to make for organizations, across the country. I love that we have this platform to be able to really provide the resources where they're needed most, right? Close to home, like East Penn Search and Rescue.
Yep.
Those wines.
Yeah. So it's just such a wonderful program, such a wonderful way to give back. But here is our Community Pay It Forward One Hope fundraiser page. And we encourage you, share this page with others, get on here, tell us your favorite recipe. Tell us something that you've done with your One Hope wines. Go get yourself a couple bottles, support the mission, and let's really do some good things, and let's help some people out as they're helping other people out. And then as you look down, as you scroll down this page, you're going to see some wonderful, wonderful things talking about certain sales and just other wines and wonderful pairings and stuff like that. Stephanie does such a great job doing this. That I've always loved that that picture. I think that's so cool looking. But here's the margaritas that we're talking about. You know, we're kind of leaving the margarita season a little bit, you know, with the summertime. But it's going to be nice to
let go.
Right? Yeah.
I don't want to let go. But that photo that you really loved, that's actually a picture of our estate in Napa. That's the dining table outside. So if you go and visit our winery, that's the estate that's right there, right next to the winery. It's a beautiful place. And now our wine club members are going to be getting complimentary tastings. So that's, you know, another perk to being a wine club member and supporting causes, you know, with each purchase. So,
well, there's never there's never not a reason to join. I mean, great way to give, great way to share, great way to do things. So
holiday season is almost upon us too. So it's a great way to gift and a really easy way to kind of customize really nice gifts.
Come on, Steph. What do you recommend I take on vacation with the family in October?
Ooh.
2 cases.
No, Ocean City, and there's 5 of us. Me, my wife, my parents, and my brother.
We'll curate
2
a
cases
for you guys.
And it's my father's birthday too while we're down there. So there's a little twist for you.
Wonderful. No, I love that. Well, I'll need to learn a little bit more about what they normally like to drink, and we can mix and match and build whatever you all need for your vacation.
I'll have to get with you on that for sure.
Perfect.
So, well, Stephanie, thank you so very much. Dwayne, thank you for stepping in. You can bring those pictures in 2 weeks with you, right? When we come back on for the halfway show?
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Yep. I'll get with Stephanie. I'll make sure, Stephanie, make sure he has my information. You know, anybody else who wants it, feel free. You know, give him my Facebook, obviously, not my personal cell number.
Yeah.
Got it.
But yeah, you know, they can.
You can find all of the information right there at eastpennsar.net. That's eastpennsar.net. Save and rescue. Dwayne, again, thank you very much for stepping up and stepping in.
Thank you.
Stephanie, as always, my love to you. Thank you so very much. I appreciate it. And we will be talking to both of you guys very, very soon.
You got it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Hey, guys. Coming up at the top of next hour, we are going to be playing the episode of Footprints Forward with the parents of our newest family member, Aaron. I think what I want to do now is I want to play the episode with Aaron so you can get the full grasp of this story, because this story is just tragic in so many ways, but it's also so helpful because there's so many people that have done so many things for these families, and the way that these families have pulled their way out of this desperate time. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And I really hope that this can be meaningful for you. So we're going to watch the one with Aaron, and then that's going to lead to the replay of this last Monday's event. And coming up next Monday, you would think that the show gets a little bit easier to talk about. It does not. This next Monday, we've got a lady who is working to help people through sexual abuse. She was raped at the age of 14 with a really good friend of hers. Her friend last year lost her life to all the things that she had done. It's a tragic, tragic, tragic story. But it's a story that we feel like it needs to be told. And again, we just want to make sure that you know that there are people out there to help you through anything. So here we go. This is the introduction to Aaron. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll come on and shut it down when it's time to shut it down, and we'll move on to the show with her parents. So thank you very much. to Stephanie and to Dwayne. Stephanie's president and founder, Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care. This is Footprints Forward. We welcome you here. And we are waiting for our host to be joining us. I take it Aaron is in Central Time.
Yes, she is.
Oh no. Yeah, okay, because I made the mistake. I thought she was in on East Coast. So so we may have a problem here, guys. But why don't we go on ahead and start out, Stephanie? Why don't you introduce yourself as I try to make up for my misstep here?
All good. Hey, it's a Monday morning, you guys. Good morning, Zach. Good morning, Mr. Z. Nice to see your face. Good morning, Patrick. I'm glad we got, the pre-show chat in there. My name is Stephanie Simoes. Good morning, everyone that might be tuning in. What I do is I work with nonprofit organizations and people year-round to assist with fundraising through One Hope Wine. We are a cause-centered winery out of Napa Valley with over $9.7 million donated to date to over 42,000 different nonprofit organizations. So what I do is I specialize in fundraising, gifting, private wine events, and wine delivery. And what I love the most is when you pour a glass of wine or send someone a gift, it's a really great feeling to know that that bottle made an impact for a nonprofit that's important to you. Yes, you get to select the 501c3 of your choice. Zach and I run a monthly show highlighting smaller nonprofit organizations to help them fundraise, but most importantly, to get their mission out there to more people. So if you're not on our page, Community Pay It Forward, One Hope Fundraiser on Facebook, and you can find that in my link tree as well. It's the link right up at the top. I am also the co-founder of P&S Properties. We're a family-run business that's working to curb the homelessness crisis in our veteran communities. We work with HUD-VASH recipients on housing, and we're working to build veteran communities and housing while providing support and resources. My work through One Hope has inspired me in this direction, hearing where we're really lacking. So that's why this mission is important to me, and I'm really glad to be here. Feel free to connect with me through my link tree. All of the ways to contact and connect on my socials are right there on that page. Happy Monday.
Well, that sounds great. And the good news is she is available. So she's going to be jumping on here in a minute. She thought she had another 30 minutes to get ready, but phew. So she will be joining us.
Yay.
Mr. Patrick Myers, tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
All right, let me switch back here. I'm trying to put on the stream. So my name is Patrick Myers. I am the founder of A Call Edge Global and Consuming Fire Media. And what I do is I just help as many people as humanly possible and get the message of the gospel out on as many platforms as possible. One of the things I do is what you call the Youth Initiative. And the Youth Initiative is a tool for teenagers to be able to do the things that they are called to do, what's inherent in them, and find their own purpose with the tools that we give them. And so it is one of the most amazing things that I've done. Like, we've had our 4th session so far, and just how the teenagers are just opening up about their lives and what's going on in their lives, and you can start to see the healing already start to happen, and then like the idea that they can do things, and the ideas that these teenagers have come up with so far, helping a chalk walk, and where they want to do for donations, have people come out and do art on the side on the greenway. Helping with the elderly, helping with younger kids, just so many different ideas that they came up with for solutions for themselves for their own time. And so that's one of the things I do with the Youth Initiative. The other thing I do with Consuming Fire Media is that we do various podcasts. The first one is the Men's Fit Ministry. podcast, and we got 2 episodes up on Spotify right now, and they're going to be coming out more and more frequently. And this is just for men that are struggling and going and trying to figure out, how to walk this life out. This is a faith-based thing, so we definitely believe in God, and um, and um, um, and just figuring out how to have a relationship with Him, so we can be better fathers, husbands, brothers, workers, bosses, just you name it. Um, um, we believe that God is the information keeper on how to be those things. Then the second one that I'm getting ready to launch, is called Voices in the Fire. And this is for people that have just been through really, really hard times, and you come and you just share your testimony on how God got you through these things, and just share pretty much your testimony of your life, how you got from where you were and overcame whatever difficulty it was that was in your life, and how you got to this point now and walking in victory. So many people can use our testimonies and what we've been through. I'm only made to reach so many people, but you, as a viewer, and every single person in this group, um, we can help. We are individually suited to reach our own group of people. That's how we are created, and so Voice in the Fire helps us do that. And we have another one launching too, and I'll talk about that when we get a little more to that point. But this one is for the businesses and local businesses in the area to be able to come on and talk about what it is that they do, how they got there, and stuff like that. So those are some, and I go out and I tell as many people about Jesus as I possibly can. So that's who I am. It's Patrick Myers, and I call it Global. Glad to be here. Love these guys here. So just glad to have another session with you guys.
We're thrilled to have you, and we're going to get into a very little bit about what we were talking about right before we came on air, while we're waiting for our guests to join us, because I think that we made a couple of really good points, and I think that it's something that will help people out a little bit. After we get the introduction from the one, the only, the great Mr. Z. How you doing, my brother?
I am feeling very grateful to see everyone here. Zach, the goddess of the grapes, Steph, and of course the man himself, Patrick. Just want to give you a big kudos to you, Zach, for putting out that fire in a very calm, relaxed, and a very strategic demeanor. You didn't panic, and I'm glad there's always time to move forward in the right community footprints. And it's always great to see your face too, Steph, but more importantly, seeing that your organs are back in place, like we're all here today. And of course, Patrick, always great what you're doing. So with that being said, I sort of have an announcement, but I'll put in my introduction. It's kind of a re-announcement or Z announcement. Hello, world. My name is Z, or you can call me Mr. Z. I am a web developer, and I am also a consultant that specializes in helping nonprofits, family-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, and entrepreneurs like yourselves who are looking to announce upcoming events, book online appointments, or accept donations and sell products and services without the use of eBay or Amazon. I also provide a free consultation to those who are looking to get started on their brand new website, and to those that have an existing website, but they're not comfortable with the idea of accepting payments, not comfortable with the idea of making changes to the back end of their website, whether it's WordPress, Squarespace, Wix, or even more. I do want to emphasize that I do have a referral program called Z Referral Program. And that is if you refer me to a nonprofit, family owned business, or a veteran owned business, or anyone that is looking to modify, develop, or redevelop a custom website. And once they become a paying client, I will donate $149 towards the community pay it forward or a nonprofit of your choice. So I do want to say thank you very much for having me. And I am certainly looking forward to seeing what we have in store for community footprints forward. Thank you. Back to you, Zach.
Well, thank you so very much. And our guest has just popped on, but I do want to say one thing that's a little bit personal. Yesterday, I want to thank and congratulate my wife Adrian, because she stuck with me for 1 year. Yesterday was our 1 year anniversary, so we went for a drive through the mountains, and we went to go pick up a young man that's a very important part of our life, and we had a great time doing that. So, but I think that the best way to introduce our guest today, Patrick, is with you, because she was a guest of our show a little over a week ago on the wine event, talking about all the stuff that you're doing. You are doing some work with her. So why don't you go on ahead and introduce us to our guest, please?
So this is Erin Davenport. She is amazing. Just when I first met her, she just has an amazing testimony, an amazing story of like where she'd been through and how she got through it. And it was one of those things where, like you guys heard my story, it just captivated me. And then not just that, but it's just the person behind it, behind her story, just her resilience and her ability to just overcome and just think about where she is at and where she wants to be. And I found that just very, very inspiring to myself also. And so she's a great friend and has been a very good cheerleader, helped me move forward in the ways that I need to. And so it's my pleasure to welcome her onto the show.
Well, Erin, thank you for putting up with my lack of knowledge on where in this wonderful country you live, and time zone deficiency. I guess if there's one reason to get rid of time zones, well, it's to make people like me a little bit smarter. So, but so welcome to the show, Erin. Thank you very much for joining us. Why don't you take a minute to introduce what you do and to our audience, and some of the things that are very important to you personally, please.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for inviting me to be here. And, today the things I'm going to talk about and share are things I haven't shared or talked about before on a format like this, or really beyond, people that are loved ones in private conversations. But I'm really looking forward to being able to share my story and experience in hopes that it can help so many people who are feeling like they're in the dark right now, or their family members have we'll just see what happens, right? Because the world is in such an interesting place as far as a lot of darkness, a lot of people struggling, and just wanting to know that there's hope. So as far as who am I? Well, my name is Erin Davenport. And really, honestly, I'm in a transition in my life right now. So it's really fun and fancy to be like, here's what I do. Here's all this list of things. And that's where I would have been maybe a year ago, but my life has changed so much. Yes, I've been a published author. I've been a part of film. I've been a life coach, but there's a new direction that's taking place in my life right now. And also a stripping of identity that I am not the things that I do. And that's just where I'm at today. So today I am Erin Davenport, and I am not attached to any title or label at this moment. We will see how this journey kind of unfolds over time. And thank you for being with me during this time period where I am going through a transition like that. And I'm just very grateful, honestly, to have the life that I get to live today and to be here with all of you.
Well, we greatly appreciate you joining us. And Erin, you mentioned you're going to be talking about something that it's not going to be very comfortable. And I want to rest assured to you personally, if it gets to be too much and you need to bow out, please do. Just understand that we are going to be try to be here to support you the best we can. One, and we really hope that that people understand the importance of your story, because your story can help so many. So, so saying that, the reason you're on here is you made a comment on our pre-show a couple days ago that you unfortunately have lived through the suicide of somebody very important to you, and that's your sister. Can you tell us a little bit about, please be comfortable in telling, but tell us about your sister and tell us about the problems that she was suffering with.
Yeah, so my sister, she was 2 years younger than me, about 18 months actually. And in my family growing up, she was the other sibling that was also a ginger. So we were always like told we look like twins. People would confuse us. I still don't think we looked similar, but we just had red hair and or just, the unicorns or something. And we just looked, we had our hair color the same, but we grew up honestly just doing everything together. We were like little buddies because of our age difference was so small. And that meant even overlap of friends at times in school. She was more of the type that was musically inclined. So she was playing the piano, very artistic, even from a really young age. I mean, we're talking about grade school and junior high and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes I was jealous because I was not good at the piano. I did not understand any of that kind of stuff. I couldn't memorize a note to save my life, even though I was in it for like 10 years doing music. But it just came so naturally for her. She was great at chemistry and, just mathematics. And really, honestly, we would have a lot of fun as children, which is kind of funny. We would take like, IQ tests together. Like, this sounds so nerdy, but we would be doing those kinds of things, like who's smarter than the other. We were kind of like competitive a little bit with things, and she was just really intelligent, really bright, and I always felt like that we understood each other, just in a way that I don't know. They say that about twins. We weren't twins, but we just kind of clicked on the same page. She would be feeling something or experiencing something, and it was almost as if I could also sense and feel what she was going through. So we were really close. And even when my family couldn't console her or there were things that would go on, she always trusted me, and I was always that safe person to go to. And she knew that, I wouldn't tattle on her or as we got older, that she just knew that I would be her friend. And so having this kind of close dynamic growing up, at the same time, she was starting to struggle in her younger years. And I remember, I think I was in 7th grade, and she's, she's 2 grades under me. So she would have been like 5th grade or something like that. I don't remember the exact years, but I just remember my parents saying that she had taken pills and that she had gone to the hospital. I still don't have very good recollection of that. I haven't asked my parents about that since that has occurred. I just haven't thought about it until now. But it was like there was this darkness, like this dark cloud that was following her. And I could sense that even when she was younger, because on one hand, she was this really intelligent, articulate, teacher's pet kind of, person, and has such a big heart, cares about others, doesn't want to see anybody else hurting. And then on the other side, I could tell, struggled with things within herself, and that she was depressed. and hurting. And so I remember that happening for her at a very young age. And me, I'm kind of like if something happens, I just kind of dust, my mom says I just dust myself off and just continue running forward, whatever that is. And I noticed her to like me continuing to run forward in life and her slowing down is what I noticed. Like there was started to be more of a disconnect. I would go off to college and she would come later, but really struggle with that. So she was navigating depression, going to therapy, trying to find a lot of answers to what was going on. And it was when we were both in college together at the same college over in Nebraska. We had moved from Iowa to Nebraska to go to school. And we were there. And she started to get very paranoid. Later, we would find out that from her diagnosis ended up being schizophrenia, and that she was starting to have like attacks of like seeing things, and she started to become very afraid of the world. Like before, she was like depressed, and I don't know how much of that stuff that maybe she saw things before and was struggling and maybe didn't share it. I'm not sure. But it really hit at around 20 when she was in school. She's going to college for chemistry. That was her major. She was the chemistry lab assistant, and her grades were always straight A's. So she was excelling mentally in that way. But at the same time, she would have these kinds of, it was almost like she was overtaken by her, like by a disease or by darkness. And my sister, I started to slowly from that point forward just see her turn into a different person almost. It's like sometimes she was just fully there, fully cognizant. We would be up to our mischievousness when it comes to playing board games or card games. And, you know, we had like little codes of like telling each other when we're on the same team. Like, I'm not advocating for cheating at card games, but it was kind of like this thing where we just, you know, we just had this kind of connection and had fun with it. And so we had these good times. She loved board games. We always played those kinds of things together as a family and with friends. And she had a lot of friends at the school. A lot of very heart-centered, loving people surrounded her, even though they knew she was navigating some difficult situations. And at the same time, I just saw this decline in her becoming more reckless. And I started to notice that I go to visit her. She had to drop out of school because she couldn't keep up with everything, battling her mind while also trying to, you know, be able to attend classes and wake up in the morning when she's had a mental breakdown all night or something like that. I also noticed, you know, she's battling like spiritually. She was having a hard time too. And it was rough. It was rough to watch because here I am. I'm trying to continue through school and I'm working really hard. I'm paying for my own education and all this kind of stuff. So I'm really busy and spending the time I can with my sister and with her friend group. Even though she dropped out of school, she still remained friends with people there. She moved across the street from the college so she could try to stay connected because she was fighting. She was trying to fight whatever it is that was going on for her. And she didn't want to let everything go. And I think she knew that if she would just completely isolate, that would have been the worst thing for herself.
Mm-hmm.
And she did isolate a lot. But it was such an amazing thing where I could literally walk across campus and show up at her apartment or invite her to something at school. But yeah, she was in and out of psych wards. She had a social worker. She would go to the psych wards and we would visit her. And I always was just kind of, it almost was like, every time I went to see her, she just kind of seemed like worse, or she was scared of people that were there. And that made me more stressed because my sister, again, she's like vegan. She doesn't want to eat any of the animals and hurt them. She's like, just like this really caring, loving person who's always standing up for other people. And then I felt like she was in some ways at risk with very violent behaviors happening around her. And I just had to really release that and honestly just pray for her and just trust that she would be taken care of during that really dark time. And it was really interesting to try to explain that to people because people didn't get it. It's like, where's your sister at? It's like, oh, she's, do I tell them she's in a psych ward? Are people going to judge that? They shouldn't, but are they going to? So it's navigating, being conscious of what she's going through, respecting her privacy, but also she had a lot of friends that were worried for her as well. So being able to be there and comfort them. So when she battled through that a couple years through that time in college and living across the street. And then she ended up going to a psych ward one more time. At this time, I'm also going through some difficult things, and I'm working through some things somewhere else, getting help for my own addictions and struggles. And I get out of that place to get support for my own stuff I'm struggling with. And 2 days later, I get my significant other at the time got a phone call, and it was my mom. And she said, your sister's committed suicide. And it was just really devastating. Because we don't ever expect to get a phone call like that, or maybe we expect it at some point if we know someone's really struggling, but we never want to hear that that's happened or that could be ever possible, especially losing my sister that's like, she was like 18 months apart. Like we did everything together. Every memory I have from my childhood is with my sister. And all of a sudden I hear that she's gone. So I just collapse. I'm at a Barnes and Nobles with my ex-husband, and I just don't even know how to reconcile what's happened. And I remember she had sent me a letter a couple weeks before that, in that she had had a mental breakdown. She had shaved her head. I was like, this is not sounding like this is not going good. Like this is not good for her. And then I found out that she had, and this has been a part of a forgiveness process. Honestly, with the mental health system, I am just continually like, God help me to forgive. God help me to forgive. No one ever does anything intentionally. They had given her a new medication that was a very high dosage right before she had left. And the side effect was suicidal ideation, and finding that out and just being so upset. And I guess my mom and her were baking cookies, and my stepdad, I won't get into all the details because nobody needs to know all the details, but my stepdad was a cop at the time, and he was getting ready for work, and he had sat his gun on the bed, and my sister knew and had Googled exactly what to do to get it out of the holster. And all of a sudden it went from them making cookies to my sister taking her life. So, and I don't know what her final thoughts might have been, but I just hope that she knew she was loved. And I know how depressed she was, that she couldn't live a normal life. At least she felt like it. She always wanted to be successful and have a normal life and have children and have a family. And she had said, I can never do any of these things. So being so smart and intelligent to know that the life you're living isn't the life to the fullest. And I think that she had just given up. There were signs maybe that we look back on, where she got rid of her dog that was like her best friend and found a new home. She had just wrecked her car on accident and it was totaled, so she had lost her only way of having freedom. And she had visited my family that she hadn't seen in years, my dad's side of the family. There are all these signs looking back, and I don't even know if she knew that she was doing those things, and maybe she did, but yeah, so I heard about those things that had happened, and I was living out of state, and I came out for the funeral, and I think I spoke even at her funeral just about her and what I appreciated about her. And so, yeah, so that's kind of what I've kind of been navigating through is how to reconcile when someone that is so close that's always supposed to be there is not there, and the memories that I'll never get to make with her, to know that her life was so short, anger at times of like, why did she have to suffer, why was she sick, what could I have done to help her. There's all these thoughts that go through the mind, but I think that it's not able to be understood to a certain degree, and to allow it to be what it is where I'm at today, and to allow myself to grieve when I need to grieve. And it's been, God has used this opportunity of working through my grief. Not that he ever wants us to go through stuff like this, but to really be there for others, because people knew from my school what had happened, and the amount of people after that who had lost someone that was close to them. I've been able to at least tell them, I understand. I can't take away their pain, but that I can be there for them. So I never want anything in my life ever that goes down a dark path to ever have no positive meaning at all at the end of the tunnel. And I'm very adamant about that. Anything that's happened in my life, in the Bible, it says we can count it as all joy and be able to bring something out of it. And it doesn't have to it doesn't have to be that way in order for me to be happy, because I am just going to just trust the process of just life in general. But what a waste it is if I don't, like, right here today, to be able to be like, hey, forever, anybody who's listening right now, if you've been through this, I understand going through the loss of someone that's a family member who's committed suicide. I understand how heavy that is and how painful that is, and to be able to let you know that I know and I understand and you're not alone. So that's what I mean by bringing something out of it.
Let me, first off, Aaron, my heart breaks for you and your family, and I appreciate you sharing your story. One of the things that we always hear, and you mentioned it, after the fact, you guys were seeing potential signs. What were those things before she took her life? Were they just coincidences, or were they just afterthoughts?
Yeah. You mean like
when she was giving away the dog?
Yeah.
Was it, and I really don't want to play this down, because I understand how important, especially the giving away the dog was. Because that is one thing that that generally, when someone knows that their life is coming towards an end, they do start giving away things.
Yeah.
But you know what? I gave away my toys as a kid, and I had no intention on losing my life. But so it's not like this is something solely to people. What did it ever raise any red flags at all? Or was it kind of one of those things that you were just like, that's odd, but that's kind of the way she is?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's really important to discuss because, I mean, if there are people that are listening too, that they're wondering or having awareness of signs of people doing things and just having that in the, not to be paranoid, but in the back of their mind, if they know someone who's struggling. It was out of character because her dog, Elvis, I mean, Elvis was a mess. Elvis would have accidents. She still loved the dog. It was just like, my sister's very clean and tidy, and she had this like chaotic animal, and it was her best friend. And it was the, companion for her daily life. I mean, when she wouldn't leave her apartment, she had the dog. And I think what you're saying is very important to look at because it was out of character. Because for her, as chaotic as the dog was, and as much as everybody kept telling her to get rid of the dog for a long time or get a different one or something, she never would do that. And at some point, within 2 weeks, I think, of when this happened, she had found the dog a new home. And she cares so much, as I said, about others and about people, animals, all that I'm sure she wouldn't have wanted the dog just to. I don't think she could reconcile probably if she didn't know what was going to happen with the dog. Even with the car accident, it was very strange because it's like all of a sudden she gets rid of the dog, she gets in a car accident, the car is totaled, that's gone. And I think that might have honestly been a breaking point almost for her as well, because her only sense of freedom, whether she should have been driving honestly or not, was that she had a car, because otherwise she was completely isolated. My family, my mom, and all of them lived a couple hours away. So for her to go see them, my parents are busy. They can't go drive a couple hours, go back, drive, do all this stuff. That was her way of visiting the family. That was her way of going to the grocery store. And it was her lifeline in essence. And so that being gone, I'm sure was extremely devastating, because I'd heard how important the car was for her before that. And then as far as visiting my family, she hadn't, some of them are in Texas. So she hadn't gone to Texas in a really long time. Like, we're talking a decade probably. And she's going down there and going to a, Cowboys game and all this kind of stuff. And it seemed like that there was something there. Also the fact that she wrote me a letter. She didn't write me letters when she was in psych wards usually. I think that was like the first time she ever had. And the fact that she wrote me a letter where I was located and was like communicating and found out my address and all this stuff, that kind of spoke to me of something as well. So I think that there needs to be maybe awareness of and I think there sometimes is a denial. I just want to end with this for now. I think there can be a denial sometimes on my part in my situation, where you just never want to dream that something so bad could ever happen. That's like, oh, that can't be, that might not be what's happening. Because it is so painful, honestly, to look at and to address, whether I'm conscious I'm doing that or not. But yeah, absolutely. People giving away things that are out of character and things that are really important to them out of the blue, I think is a warning sign.
Aaron, and I don't want to take up all the time here, but let me ask this. And you were talking about, whether the driver's license was a good thing, having the car was a good thing or not. Someone who has the emotional difficulties that your sister had, would public transportation, would that been more of a trigger for her? Would that be one of the reasons why you would want to keep her away from stuff like that? Because I know that just getting on like a public bus, or I traveled to Texas once on the Greyhound, whatever stuff.
Yeah.
I don't suffer from things like that, but I was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
would it have been problematic for her to be on public transportation?
Yeah, that I think would have been also extremely stressful because there is a sensitivity that is there that's heightened. They say that about people with autism, right? Their triggers. Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if she was undiagnosed with that as well. But that would have given her so much more stress. I just can't even have imagined that for her. So I think there might be kind of like this gap, even as I'm thinking about it, with just like if someone does suffer, you know, how do they have that kind of freedom, but also at the same time not causing more angst and detriment to their life?
Well, again, thank you to you and my love to your entire family and everything. Patrick.
Yes. Well, we've talked about it before, and like I was in tears when I found out the first time before you told me, and then you know, uh, 'cause a lot of things you're talking about just brings up stuff, and remember feeling like that, feeling uh, just really really lost, and there's nothing that like I felt like I could do about it, at the time. And one of the things I would like to say to you, because a lot of just I like to say to you, just I think a lot of times the people that survive it, they don't know how to. They have a lot of just thoughts of what they could have done and different things like that. And if everything that you're telling me or you're saying that has happened and other things that I do know, um, when someone's going through things like that, um, I when I used to deal with the teenagers, right? I'm trying to be wise in what I say. When I was dealing with the teenagers, I used to be when there was taking when my best friend took her life and two teenagers were taking their lives, and I used to be very very angry. My daughter was one that was suicidal at the time and was just going through all these things, and I was very angry with her, and I was very frustrated, and it wasn't just angry. I was angry at myself. I was angry at um, all these other things, and then being on the side of it of going through it, right? Um, your sister wouldn't want you to carry any of those things, and I know you know that, but I'm saying it to you because maybe nobody said it to you, um, from the perspective of surviving it, because my family and everybody else didn't have anything to really do with what was going on with me. Like I knew that they loved me, I knew people loved me, but it was just other darkness that was happening that was that had nothing to do with anybody personally, really. And you're talking about schizophrenia, so you're seeing things, you're hearing things, and then you go into one of those places, and then those places are crazy. I've been there, and whatever you have going on with you, times it 100 when you step into one of those places. It just ramps up because now you're dealing with everybody else's crazy on top of your own. And um, but I can tell you 100%. Even with her writing that letter, um, and stuff like that, that she loved y'all very much. Um, there's just sometimes just things where we can't just hope runs out, and it's not nothing personal. And for the people out there, like, what was the question I would have to ask you? And from the survivor side, right? Like you're the survivor of all these events. What would be the thing that you would want most for people to be able, like, what tool would you want people to have to be able to identify these things, or be able to stand in the gap? Because there's so much advice out there, right? Um, but when it's on your doorstep, it's a whole, like, it seems like that advice and all that, those resources are never there,
Yeah.
right? That's really, like, now I have all the resources, right? I didn't have it then. And so, what would be the major things that you would say would be the tools that you would want and you think people should have?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, I think that just the first thing that comes to mind is that sometimes in my life, and maybe someone else can relate to this, is that we get so busy that we miss being in the moment. And I was so busy with my life, um, all the other things going on, my own problems. I'd moved out of state somewhere else. I lost track of staying in touch with my family. It is not my responsibility to caretake and to ensure the safety of everybody else, but it is a responsibility for me to be able to be available and to not, in my case, sometimes I do so much to drown out everything else because it's feeling overwhelming. So I will become a workaholic. I will uh, find other ways to numb out, in the past, especially. And by doing that, I'm doing myself a disservice because I don't want to deal with the reality of what is going on. And also, it's doing others a disservice. And I don't have, I guess you could say, like you said, Patrick, I don't have regret as much as more of an awareness and a way of how do I want to live my life from this point forward when it comes to the people within my life. Am I sweeping things under the rug? If someone's saying I'm having a really hard day or they're sharing something that's close to their heart, am I brushing that off because I'm way too busy because I put too much on my own plate? Do I have excuses? Um, because when it comes down to it, and before, my dad has also passed away, not from suicide. And and I remember telling him, "Are you going to regret that at the end of your life that you didn't work enough or that you didn't spend enough time with your family?" And little did I know a couple years later that he would unexpectedly pass away. And that was always seared into my mind as a reminder of I still have moments today. I get so busy and I'm like, wait a second. The thing that is so important in this life are people, are
Yes.
the relationships that I have. And so I would say if anybody's watching and that there are overwhelming situations with family members or loved ones, to maybe push pause and take a moment and to address whatever might be going on, or to be available even when you feel like you might be at the end of it, or take that time for yourself so you can recharge and then be available. Because sometimes life it's burdensome, but I do guarantee if we ignore it, that is the last thing that we want to do because the consequences are a lot higher at that point. So again, we're not here to save anybody. We're not here to be people's superhero. And also we can be present and we can pay attention. So I would say that is something that's really important that came to my mind. And also the strength, as we've talked about before, is that I have reached out for help. I would say if people are feeling overwhelmed, like my mom, she was a teacher. She was a new teacher doing a new career, and she was essentially became the caretaker of my sister for periods of time of years. And I would say surround yourself if you're caring for someone that's really struggling or there's somebody in your life, ensure that you're asking for help. Ensure that you're bringing in a group of people to help to lighten the burden and to be able to then ensure that you're taking care of what you need to be for yourself. But also there are different perspectives that people can have around us, that they notice things that we don't notice, or may know resources that we may not know about. So those are some things that come to mind just immediately as you ask that question, Patrick.
I have one more for you.
Yeah. Okay.
In what ways can you see, like I know you kind of explained, like, you know, you how you see life differently, but what is the main point of strength that I think that have you gotten out of everything that has happened up until this point? Like, what is the superpower that you walk away with out of this?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. um, with my sister and what has happened through her situation, and as I briefly mentioned with my dad, who also passed away early in my life, it has really helped me to see how precious this life really is that I get to live. And do I remember that every moment of every day? No, but it has really shown me that what do I want to be personally doing with my time? What is the priority of my life? And also it fuels me to help other people, because as you know, many of us have probably walked through something. We can be able to walk with other people who are going through that, and as I shared a moment ago, be able to lighten the burden along with others. It's also deepened my relationship with God, which I threw into the trash a while ago. And I just recently picked it back up. And I was like, wow, this is so precious, because if there is no point to life, then what is the point? And I will tell you that that is what caused me to almost go down the same path as my sister this last year, is when I threw all of my beliefs out the window and there is no purpose to life. Well, then there is no purpose when we kind of have that kind of thinking. And I tell you what, God snatched me out of from the darkness myself this last year. And that now I have a purpose. And the purpose is that I want to be able to be a light in this world that is so dark. And Patrick knows exactly what I mean, because we've had so many conversations about this, and that we have such a short period of time to be here, and to ensure that it is well utilized, and that we are connecting in a really deep and powerful way, and that there is a light like at the end of the tunnel, not to use a cliche, like there is a purpose of being here. And that is what fuels me to move me forward, and to be able to snatch people, or be a part of snatching people out of the darkness. And there are so many ways we can do that in this world, but that is what fuels me today. And it's doing things like this, where there may be someone who's listening right now who is depressed, who has suicidal ideation, who is wondering what is the point to life, and to just say, you know, hold on, there is something there, and cry out for help if you need to, because you know, your life is precious, and the suffering that is there absolutely is there. We have compassion, and that doesn't have to be something that is forever. Like there is hope, there is a way out. And, you know, for me, it was that surrender of admitting I couldn't do this all on my own. So that's what fuels me, Patrick. And you got me now going on this. I don't want to start like preaching or something, but I will stop there. Okay.
Okay, Stephanie.
Great minds think alike. Patrick kind of stole my question over here. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on here, sharing your story. You have incredible strength. I have chills still from when you first started. So my question was, and maybe we can elaborate on it or spin on it a little bit differently, was what really helped you personally to get to this point? Because it took incredible strength for you to come here and share to help others today, right? Like, I don't know that I would have been able to stay as composed as you were in sharing. If there are other listeners watching who are still struggling, who may be in a similar situation, are there suggestions or resources that have helped you to kind of move forward to get to this point after such a great loss? I was going to ask about your faith. You've confirmed you've leaned into your faith. Yeah. But were there any organizations maybe that help support you or get you through? Or was it the family around you? Was there anything that kind of stood out to kind of help you through.
Yeah, that's great. There are a lot of people that came together. So I was in college still, and so I had people who understood what I was going through. And I think it's also not isolating myself, because there's a great opportunity at that point to be so sad and depressed and not want people to see me like falling apart, that there is that tendency to be like, oh, let me just go to my dorm room or my apartment or my home and just like close the door. But that's the last thing that we need to be doing in that situation. So as uncomfortable as it is, to really get out there still and to be like, even if it's a text message of, hey, do you want to come over and watch a movie? Or I just need to get out of the house for an hour. Do you want to go to lunch with me? If you have a full plate and you feel so overwhelmed, ask for time off work, and ensure that you're doing something that is going to be uplifting for you. So not just to isolate and not to make it worse, but really to look for an avenue of support. One thing that I did do too was, um, it's just kind of miraculous, but I went down to, someone sponsored me. At that time, there's no way I could have afforded to go to I went to the Meadows, which is a treatment center, but it was for grieving. There's a grieving workshop. It's down in Arizona, and it was a week long. And I went there with a couple other people who were grieving different losses in their life. And so that's something that I can recommend that was very helpful. And it's in a group setting where there are other people working through some really heavy things, and you understand that other people understand. And that was very helpful for me. Also, continuing to not give up on myself. And that meant being open, because I don't know if there's a one size fits all for everybody, but there are things that come our way that are opportunities. Like I could have told the person who was going to sponsor me to go to the Meadows, no. I could have said, no, that's uncomfortable. My schedule's busy, or I don't know what that is. But I stayed open. So if someone's going through grieving and having a difficult time, stay open, to what people are offering. Pray about it if you do pray. And ensure that it's something that's actually going to be helpful for you. But the least and most unexpected ways that things have come into my life that I was like, oh, that I've never heard of that before, that doesn't sound helpful, end up being some of the best things for my life. And sometimes it's breaking for me past the stubbornness. I don't know if there's any other stubborn people out there. So yeah, those are some different ways outside of my faith, I would say, that have really given me comfort. And yeah, hopefully that helps somebody.
Mr. Z, and I know that we're running really, really tight on time, but I just want to find out if you have any questions or anything to add. And why don't we go on ahead and also throw in the part where, what have you learned today?
Of course. I want to start off by saying thank you, Aaron, for sharing your story. I know it takes a lot of strength and courage to share your story, and uh, it really means a lot that you're willing to share your story and your relationship with your sister, who was 18 months younger than you, who's accomplished so much, and you both were very close. And you're absolutely right. It's not your responsibility to be everyone's superhero, but it's nice to feel like one. And the fact you're making a huge difference towards those who are experiencing what you went through, and it's nice to know that they could go to someone like yourself that can give them that sense of hope and be the beacon of their life. And no one ever wants to go through it alone. And Patrick had mentioned, had he had those resources, things would be a lot more different. And now that you could be the resource that people could listen to, talk to, without having to feel alone in the process. And I don't want to sound cliche, but you are showing them the light to the ways that there's hope. And you brought up some great points about the signs. And I'm no expert by any means, but this is something that I'm going to think about, sort of blending into what have I've learned. One of the biggest signs, I suppose, it's when they're acting out of place. When you have someone who's a all-star athlete, someone who's an expert person who plays the piano or playing instruments, and all of a sudden they lost interest in what they do. That's something that I should probably be on the lookout for, when someone's just completely out of place. Um, and I do want to just say that it's very good to know that there are people like yourself that are using your experiences. I don't want to say use, I would say sharing your experiences to help those who don't even know the signs yet. And maybe they have a sibling that they're not so close to because they're very busy with their work. And just take a moment to say, you know what, I wonder how my sister's doing. I wonder how my brother's doing. How's my cousin doing? And I think hearing your story kind of reminds them that, you know, our careers come and go, or some careers will last a long time, but family will stay forever. And my impression of what you're doing, it's phenomenal. And thank goodness that you were able to get that sponsorship towards that retreat,
Mhm.
because it's really hard to find someone who shares the vision that you have. Like many people here, you got Patrick, Zach, Steph, who have that faith in not just helping others, but what others can do to help others. So I do want to say that what you're doing, it's fantastic work. And if I could be so boorish to say, on behalf of everybody here, we're we're so glad that you could share your story. And it's good to learn from people who have experienced it and not finding out until it's too late. And my question for you is, you mentioned that you wrote a book, or if you're an author, uh, if you are an author, what's the name of your book?
Yeah, that's a great. Okay, so it's I brought together other life coaches and like chicken noodle soup for the
Lovely.
soul kind of style. And it's the same concept, I guess, because it's 50 the first book was 52 stories about life coaches who overcame hard times in their life, and it shows that they made it through it. And it's called Short, Sweet, and Sacred. And there's actually 3 of them on Amazon that you can find there. And people have given really great feedback about how the stories have been uplifting to them during times of, you know, a breast cancer diagnosis. There's some coaches who wrote about that. I share about my dad and his passing away and that experience. Uh, there's a lot of stuff in there, something for everybody.
Well, Aaron, thank you. Thank you. Um, again, takes immense strength, and your story is very, very powerful. So I appreciate it. I appreciate the pain that you just went through telling this story, and I hope that it's going to bring the strength to someone else that's out there. Um, I do wholeheartedly believe that this is the one story that proves what our name of this show is, that your sister, we wish you would have known that no matter how softly you walk, you always leave footprints.
Yeah.
Look, you're always going to be missed. Okay. And so this proves that point. I don't want to put you on a spot, but as these guys were asking, what would be the one thing you would tell a family right now that's going through the pain or maybe the fear that they have somebody who they're about ready to lose? What would be the one thing you would tell them?
Hmm. Well, I can speak to that because I have one of my brothers is goes through depression really heavily still to this day. He's someone I still worry about. And what I can say is that, just be there for them when they're reaching out. And as Z said earlier, be intentional about reaching out. Also, maybe asking yourself, where can you find your hope? Because if I feel like I have to hold up the universe, that's a lot. That is a lot for anybody to have to do, but I know where I can turn, and I talked about my faith. So what does that look like for you, that you can be able to know that there are resources out there that are even bigger than us that can absolutely orchestrate a miracle in your life? And so I would say that would be something to think about.
Stephanie, what did you learn today?
I just think it's really, really inspiring, Aaron, that you're really just trying to bring joy out of hard situations. So I'll leave it with that.
Yeah. Thanks, Stephanie.
Patrick?
Glory to God. That's what I gotta say, Aaron. Gotta always be intentional about that. So
yeah.
Glory to God.
Yeah.
Glory to God in the highest, for sure. The thing I learned today, we were just talking about this. I had a friend actually. I went back and asked this friend what did you guys experience when I took my life, right? And the one thing that they said to me was they were like kind of teared up. It's like, we didn't know you were right next to us. We didn't know that you were actually suffering as much as you were. Like when I actually told them what I was going through, I could see that they had no clue. I thought that they did actually, I thought that they did, but they had no clue whatsoever that I was going through so much. And if you're out there and you're struggling with these things, with depression and anxiety and suicide, you tell somebody. Tell somebody. You see my number right here on the bottom. You can tell me. I'm game. Don't, we're all here for you, to be honest. I don't really like to give my number out so much, you know what I mean? But it's there for a reason. You can email me anything and just reach out and let's have a conversation, and that someone's in your corner. So just reach out and talk to somebody. And that's something that I really recently learned. I mean, I knew it, but I didn't know how much it affected people because they want to know. I didn't know that my friends wanted to know. I didn't know that my family wanted to know. And it's not whether or not sometimes people can do something for you or do something about it, because a lot of times the people closest to you, they're not equipped, but they can love you through it and love you unconditionally through it. And that's sometimes the most important thing, because that's one of the things that I felt like I wasn't loved. And it had nothing to do with, I didn't think that they loved me. It's just in a deficit of love in general. And so, Aaron, just thank you. I learned a lot more about you personally as a woman, as a friend, and as a follower of Christ. Just the strength that it takes to keep walking forward, and then what God can do as a force multiplier of that strength when you're yielded to Him.
Yeah.
So that's what I learned today.
Ellen, I'm just going to say that, you know what, no matter how busy you are, just remember that whatever you're doing is not as important as finalism. So, if you're too busy to talk to someone, you may never be able to talk to them again. Aaron, I would like to raise or extend an invitation to you to join us whenever you're free. Your story is very powerful, and I think that your message is extremely important. So I'd like to welcome you to come and join us whenever you would like. Just reach out to us. Any of us would benefit from everything that you went through. And please remember that if you look up above me in the social media feed right now, you're going to see the part 2 of this story. You're going to see mom and stepdad talking about the same thing. It is a little bit longer, but I'm going to tell you something. It's worth every minute of listening to that. 3 hours. You're listening to a family who lost one member, could have easily lost two. And still, you heard right there towards the end, they still worry about a brother. Fight's never over, okay? The fight is never, ever over. Suicide is the end. We got a lot of people out there right now that are trying to be divisive. We got a lot of people out there right now trying to split us apart, and I challenge you. I don't give a damn which side you're on, left, right. I want you to take a look at the one thing that you see tomorrow. Every single person that you see tomorrow, there's one truth about them. One truth. That's it. They're all human beings. They all have feelings. They're all people. You don't have to agree with what everybody says. They're not going to agree with everything that you say. It doesn't make you right. It doesn't make them wrong. It doesn't make them right. It doesn't make you wrong. Facts are facts. Okay? Facts are facts. The old saying, opinions, they're like the sphincter region of your body. Everyone has them, and every single one of them stinks. It's okay to have your opinion. Just don't live your life on that opinion. Okay. Hey, everybody. My name is Zach Clayton. I am the president and founder of Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the pACT channels. I want to thank Stephanie and I want to thank Dwayne both very much for coming on and sharing their information. Look, I cannot do anything right now without the support of Stephanie, without the support of Z, of Aaron. Welcome to the family. Trevor and Dennis came back. Patrick. These people are important in my life, and we don't see things the same way. We do not see things in the same way. I am not a religious person. I'm here to tell you right now, I'm not a religious person. There's a lot of religious talk on that show. Doesn't make them right. Doesn't make me wrong. Doesn't make me wrong. Or doesn't make me right. Doesn't make them wrong. It proves that, you know what, we don't have to see everything at an eye level to understand they're there. They're here. They're willing to help. Please remember to love somebody out here because somebody out here loves you. Out there because somebody out here loves you. As we always say, have a little extra food, throw it in the old hillbilly Tupperware, get it in the microwave, take it out to someone who's starving. You got a clothing that don't fit, put it to use. Throw it in your car, give it to somebody who's struggling with the elements. Hey, folks, we are coming up on the holidays, okay? We need your help. Go to communitypayitforward.us. Send us a donation if you can. Please, we're going to be using that for the book drive, holiday book drive. We're going to be using it for food boxes for families. We are going to be starting an auction, adopt a family. If you want to get involved, get a hold of us. We're going to be releasing how this is going to work here real soon. This adopt a family, I'd like to get it going countrywide. Okay? I'd like to get it going worldwide. Can we do it? Not until we get started. My name is Zach Clayton, president and founder of Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care. Please remember, if you're not helping someone, you're hurting everyone, because no one has to go it alone when we all come together. I'll see you on Monday. with our next episode of, once again, we're going to have a very tough conversation talking about sexual assault and how not treating that can be very deadly.
Stepping out of her fear, bring me home. Out alone, to show me the way. You wanna be a part of Sunset Boulevard.